Depending on the specific test conducted, Intel's i9-285 boasts nearly double the multi-threading capability compared with what many gamers regard as its direct competitor, AMD's flagship 98X3D. However, while the majority of gamers tend to gravitate towards AMD's CPU in pursuit of the highest FPS rates, they could be overlooking an untapped potential of an underutilized architecture which is still in its infancy. My name's Lou, and we're here today because I'm excited to explore my latest computer build designed for high-end gaming in 2025 and beyond. Let's get started.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.
Building your own dream computer can be quite an exciting adventure. Much like purchasing your next car or home, it can be both stressful but highly rewarding. The countless options available selecting the right components for your system can feel overwhelming. However, as both a gamer and a content creator, I found that the decision-making process was significantly easier once I grasped the current underlying architectures. For instance, the impressive power of Intel's 285 lies in its high-end multi-gaming capabilities, which leverage the innovative Arrow Lake architecture. In contrast to AMD's 98X3D, it has yet to be fully demonstrated its full potential, leaving mainly the early adopters and eager Intel enthusiasts like me to see what it can truly achieve. This means it has a ton of potential that is uncapped. The while software developers race, or maybe not, to understand the best ways of utilizing it. As someone who really enjoys calculated risks, I've decided to invest my resources into exploring this adventure further. I believe in being upfront about the costs involved, which I'll detail in the description below. Just a heads up though, my approach does require a substantial budget and the inevitable upfront investment. However, based on my experience, if executed properly, it has the potential to balance itself out over time, and may even become more cost effective in the long run, especially considering the increased costs of technology even at the entry level. The beauty of my strategy is that I only need to embrace the latest cutting edge technology every 7 to 10 years. This significantly reduces the pressure to chase after every mid-range tech release that pops up every few months or so, as software advancements often lag behind hardware capabilities at the start, but later catch up and start to exceed the older hardware. As I already had a 4090 graphics card for phase 1, I'm just going to be focusing on the core components, specifically the motherboard, CPU, memory, plus I'm really excited to dive into the latest storage solutions to really make the most of it. This upgrade has been a long time coming, and I'm moving from the Samsung 2TB SSD that reads and writes at about 600 MB per second to the impressive, crucial 4TB 705 M.2 SSD. This powerhouse can hit a staggering 14,000 MB per second for reads and 12,700 MB per second for writes. To put that into some sort of perspective, we're talking about 24 times faster. That's 2,300% uplift reading and 21 times faster writing. While I've had to set a budget, I realised that for my streaming needs, I realistically require more than just one M.2 SSD. I'll save you for the nitty-gritty details for another video, but if you're curious, feel free to drop me a comment in the comments below and your thoughts, and I'll tailor that video for you to help more of you folks out. The toughest decision of this build was definitely the motherboard. I spent a good 6 months diving into the latest Z890 Intel 1851 socket boards. I found myself caught between two of the top 3 tiered options from Asus, MSI and Gigabyte. While I have a soft spot for Asus, I was genuinely open to exploring other choices if they fitted my needs better. MSI's godlike board certainly caught my attention over the years, recognised for having one of the best gaming form factors out there. While I haven't had the chance to own an MSI product myself, it's been praised by fellow YouTubers like JZ2Cents as a brand that has consistently improved. Their latest offering, the MEG Z890 Godlike, packs a punch in both its functionality and design, featuring an impressive array of connectivity options including 8 10GB USB Type-A ports, 5 USB Type-C connectors, and a Thunderbolt 4 connector, along with 10GB and 5GB Ethernet sockets, among many others. However, this board didn't quite make the cut for me. It lacks Thunderbolt 5 and only includes one USB-C 20GB connection. It seems like they opted more for ports at a lower bandwidth instead of fewer ports at higher bandwidths. For my needs, having much more higher bandwidth connectivity as possible is essential to optimize all my gaming peripherals and the streaming gear, so unfortunately, it fell a bit too short. Next up is Gigabyte Z890 Azorus Extreme AI Top, which was a tough contender for my final decision on this rebuild. It really came down to this board versus another one I was considering, and let me tell you, it was a challenge. Unlike the Godlike, which prioritized connectivity over bandwidth, this board boasts some impressive features. We're talking Thunderbolt 4 and Thunderbolt 5, 2TB Ethernet ports, and a whopping 10GB USB-A connectors. In tests conducted by a reviewer, which is on the screen now and in the description below, this board came out performing top among 49 other Intel Z890 boards. However, I ultimately decided against it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it has a bit of a limitation around the storage, offering just 4 M.2 slots, and only one of those being a Gen 5. Secondly, there were a general scarcity of availability of buying it in the UK from all my trusted sources. The storage issue was particularly hard to overlook, especially since I wanted to future-proof my setup and anticipated needing more Gen 5 M.2 drives to swap out with the 2 Gen 4 drives later down the line. Finally, let's talk about the Asus ROG Maximus Z890 Extreme. While it might not top the charts in performance or connectivity, for my specific needs, this motherboard strikes a great balance among the three options. It combines the best features of the other two while also offering some unique selling points that make the Republic of Gamers a go-to choice for gamers. What really caught my eye was the impressive mix of two Thunderbolt 5 ports, one USB-C 20GB and plenty of 10GB USB-A and C connectors, along with 3 Gen 5 and 3 Gen 4 M.2 slots. This setup perfectly meets my current requirements, leaving me room for my foreseen future upgrades. When it comes to choosing a processor, it's really clear that there's really just no debate when it comes to a high-end build. Once you've decided to either go down AMD or, like me, Intel, you'll want to go for the top end of the line option that fits your motherboard. For my setup, that meant going for Intel's Core Ultra 9 285K Arrow Lake Series 2. When it comes to memory, I usually prioritize the highest capacity of the motherboard over the tight timings and response times. For my needs, memory speeds have never been a bottleneck, and being able to multitask effectively is more crucial than squeezing out a few more extra frames per second from the graphics card. That's why I opted for Corsair's Dominator Titanium. Not only does it look great with its built-in RGB heatsink, but it also packs a punch with its 98GB DDR5 that can reach clock speeds of up to 7000 MHz. This makes it one of the top performing 98GB memory sticks available. If you're curious about the timings and their impact on the overall computer build, I highly recommend checking out this video from J2Sense that I'll also link in the description below, which provides some solid insights into all of these memory clock speeds and what they may or may not mean for your system. The rest, well, it's history for now, as I'm not making any further changes yet, but don't worry, I've got more to come later this year. I'll be kicking off phase 2 of the 2025 rebuild, which will bring back 2 water loops and give the case in PSU a nice update. Then the big minute arrived, the switch on. As a water cooling enthusiast, my concern was leaks and whether or not I'd properly seated the heatsink for the CPU. Good news though, no leaks. I had done a test run while filling the now single loop, and any fast leaks would have shown up then. Slow leaks can occur, but they typically take a while to reveal themselves and are less common unless you're dealing with EK tube reservoirs, which I've learned have a bit of a reputation in the community for leaking, I've had 2 of those, and both have required some sealing products to make them watertight. Now, let's chat about how the system performed during those initial stress tests. It hit the CPU's max safe temperature of 105 Celsius and was hanging between 70 to 80 Celsius under medium loads of running a few applications. However, when there were no loads, the temperatures were still a bit all over the place, ranging from 40 Celsius to 60 Celsius. This was hinting at a possible issue with the CPU water block not being seated correctly, which had me a bit concerned from the get-go for a couple of reasons. So first off, I forgot to order some thermal paste, so I ended up using some that was 2 years old, and I also didn't have much of it either, so could definitely be the cause or a factor. Secondly, my EK Supremacy Evo water block was designed for Intel's older i7 LGA 1150 sockets. While it's still considered top-notch, it's not optimized for the latest rectangular-shaped CPUs, which have a non-centered heat spot and different fitting requirements for the motherboard. However, I managed to tackle the fittings issue by getting an XSPC backplate and later on picking up a fittings pack since they had a different thread size compared to EK's. A bit of a hack, but if I could get it working, would save me £100 or more, while providing me time for the 1851 optimized water blocks to hit the market, which brings me nicely to my next point. I was hesitant to replace the water block because at the time there was only one water block from Thermal Grizzly specifically made for Intel's new 1851 socket. That one was a direct-to-die cooler, which I felt was a bit too risky even for an experienced enthusiast like me, due to the delidding process. So I decided to take a more budget-friendly route, and I got a new Thermal Grizzly Cryonute Extreme Thermal Paste to see how that would work out. The results, well, they were pretty impressive right off the bat. I didn't get 30 to 35 Celsius under medium workloads, reaching up to 43 Celsius, and during all the important stress tests, it peaked at 65 Celsius, which then began to drop after stabilizing during the full 30 minutes test. Success! And the final results? Well, they're quite stunning. The comparisons are breathtaking, both in-game as shown here and the before and after FPS stats, and in everything else that now loads instantly and works like a charm. It ultimately allows me to do everything I need without any limitations. Let us know in the comments below what your computer dilemmas are and what your choices would be for your ultimate gaming and or content creators build. If you like this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to be notified about my next live stream or when we publish more insights and gaming and gaming technology. Thanks for watching. This is Lou out.
Certified badass.